Chest up, shoulders back. Welcome to Revival Fitness, everybody, your home for gains and brains. And today we're going to breach into the mythical topic of direct ab training in the gym. Should you do it? Is it even worth doing? Is it necessary overall? Can it actually get you the six-pack that you so badly want? We're going to answer all of these questions, and at the end of the video, I have 4 key tips for you to get the most out of your ab training. So make sure to stick around for that. But what I want to talk about first, guys, a little precursor here. Get this in your heads if you don't already know this. You must understand this, especially if you're new to the fitness space. Spot reduction in terms of body fat does not exist. There is no way to specifically target the body fat on your tummy and your love handles, kind of that central torso region, and to exclusively eliminate that. There is no way to do that besides liposuction. If your current level of calories does not warrant you having a lean midsection, and it might not depending on your goals, if you're bulking, for example, you might not have visible abs at the present time, and that's okay. But if you want visible abs right this moment as soon as possible, and that's all you want, you don't care about potential muscle growth or anything else, if you just want the abs, you're going to have to eat less to get your abs to show if you have muscle built in the abdominal region in the first place. And this is something else a lot of people don't fully grasp, at least for a long time. I've said this before, guys. You very well might be a lean person, low body mass index, you wear small size clothing, but even if you do get or stay lean, you still might not have visible abs. Now, why would that be? Very simply, you have not built enough muscle. And this is what the average NPC does in terms of wanting to get abs. Whether they do this at home or at a gym, they immediately go to cardio. They're like, oh, I want to lose weight. I'm just going to run on the treadmill, on the track, through the neighborhood, whatever it is. And guys, there is nothing wrong with doing cardio. There's nothing wrong with wanting to lose weight by adding in more cardio to your routine or doing some now if you're not doing any. However, like I said, you still need muscle in the abdominal region to get your abs to show. Spoiler alert, running and cardio aren't going to build muscle. Not any appreciable level, maybe a little bit in the calves, a teeny tiny bit in the quads, maybe. Cardio does little in the grand scheme of things in terms of real body composition change. And if you're somebody who fits that criteria, like I said, you're already a lean person and you can't see your abs, cutting is of no benefit because you need muscle, and muscle's not going to be built at any appreciable speed in a calorie deficit if you're already skinny. Contrary to what many of these popular influencers seem to tell you, muscle does not pop up out of thin air. It requires mass and weight on your body. So if you're skinny now and don't have visible abs, don't be scared of the scale going up. You very well may bulk your way, gain weight into more defined abs as you build the muscle. It's far more common than you think, I promise you. You commonly will hear this phrase in fitness and health: abs are made in the kitchen. I understand the premise for that, but that phrase really should be abs are revealed in the kitchen. Your overall diet and energy intake and expenditure determine your total body fat, but your training and how effectively you put those calories to use determines your muscle mass. And if you come from the mainstream personal training world like I do, you hear this so much it makes your ears bleed. I want to get toned abs. That's cool, but if you have no muscle underneath your belly fat, all you're going to end up doing is looking like the Cinnamon Man from Apple Jacks. So with that said, is direct ab training necessary to get a visible six-pack? Technically speaking, no. But there's a pretty big caveat here. Necessary and valuable are two different things. If you do serious, legitimate exercises, squats, deadlifts, overhead presses, rows, weighted calisthenics, things of that nature, not just playing hopscotch on all the machines, sitting all the time. If you do serious exercises on your feet with considerable weight, yes, your abdominal muscles are going to grow. So if you have solid exercise selection and never directly train your abs at all, I believe for the vast majority of people, you're going to get some semblance of abs. Whether that's a 4-pack, a 6-pack, it's going to vary based on genetics. But on that note, there is something that can help your squats and your deadlifts and your rows and your overhead presses and all these other big exercises help your stability and strength on them. And that is going to be direct ab training. Now, I'm not saying that doing typical gym exercises, right, like some little cute Russian twists or some sit-ups, those are not going to magically get you a bigger squat or a bigger deadlift, or really any exercise. But assuming you're building the muscles related to that movement and training intelligently, having a stronger core really offers no disadvantages in your training. And this is where the rubber meets the road for ab training. Because if you're a typical commercial gym schmuck, you come in and do your half-hearted side bends and your little ab machines, right? You're just coasting through your ab exercises. You can even look at your phone the way some people look at their phone on the leg extension while they do them. Like, guys, if you're doing planks at your gym and you're like this, looking at your phone, don't be surprised when you get no results. But if you train your abs intelligently and with proper intensity, you can definitely reap the rewards of direct core training. And here are my 4 tips to get the most out of that. Tip number 1, get your hips and pelvis in motion. As I mentioned, there are a number of muscles along the core, although many people seem to think of the abs as just like one big slab of one single muscle. There's far more than just one. And whenever most people train their abs, especially in commercial gyms, they tend to solely focus on the rectus abdominis, or kind of like the main baseboard, so to speak, of the abs. Common exercises here are going to be sit-ups, planks, and crunches. And if you notice in all of these exercises, the legs and the hips, they don't move. In order to get full traction and movement of the abdominal muscles, you need to get your lower body moving as well. And this is exactly why any sort of hanging exercise is so beneficial for the abs. Whether you're doing these on a pull-up bar, on a dip station, or with elbow attachments you can slide onto a pull-up bar, ab exercises done from a hanging position offer you the most practical carryover to your bigger exercises, namely on squats and deadlifts, because as your core expands more so with your legs free in the air, that's going to carry over to the hardest parts of the squat and the deadlift, right? Which are the bottom. Now, if you're not strong enough to do any sort of hanging leg raise yet, and or if grip strength is an issue for you, you can also modify more traditional core exercises to make them more difficult. For example, with the plank, you can alternate toe taps out to each side, and you can even bring your legs up one at a time, sort of knees to chin style. You can also do lying leg raises in which you move your feet in some sort of pattern, whether that's a cross, zigzag, something like this. Anything that gets your lower body moving instead of static is going to have more benefit for ab training. Now, in that same vein, tip number 2 here, don't forget the edges. So like I was saying, most people tend to solely focus on the bottom abs, the rectus abdominis, but there are far more components of the abs than just that. And probably the 2 most overlooked areas are the obliques, which are on the side of the core, and then the serratus anterior. Now, I would say the serratus is far and away the most forgotten about, because many people are familiar with oblique exercises, right? Like side planks and side twists, but many people still do their oblique training wrong. Most oblique exercises are done like this. You grab a plate, a little dumbbell, maybe a little medicine ball, and then you just kind of mindlessly bend. Now, sure, you might get a little pump in your oblique muscles by just mindlessly bending over and over for a minute straight, but in terms of practical carryover to your big exercises, there's not much benefit here. So you can do something hanging like you see me doing here, moving your legs up to the side, maybe something like a toes to the bar with an angle in your feet. If you can't do something like that, you can even modify your Russian twists on the floor by really exaggerating the arc. So instead of just kind of mindlessly twisting side to side in this little noodle shape almost, imagine almost like you're kayaking or rowing a boat. Really go down, try to touch the weight or your hands to the floor, rainbow up, and then repeat the process. But anything in terms of oblique training, guys, and also ab training in general, getting more range of motion, really extending as much as you can, that is far more efficient on a rep for rep basis than just kind of hovering in this one little area. So those are the obliques, and next is the serratus. And this is, I would say, the most forgotten about component of the abdominal wall. The serratus basically look like fish gills right below the chest, and they separate the pecs from the lats in the back once they start to come in. It draws a distinct line, which is going to improve your aesthetics. And also, if your serratus muscles are weak, this can actually even create problems for you in the shoulder. And I've experienced this too in the past myself, guys. One of the most common issues related to a weak serratus is scapular winging. It's this weird looking thing here whenever people's shoulder blades like detach and they stick out. It looks like they're gonna fly away. That's actually not just ugly looking, it's not healthy. So the fact that your scapula is detaching from the rib cage like that, that means there's a weakness there. That can potentially lead to shoulder impingement, more inflammation, more stress on the weaker side. And given the fact that the serratus is involved with the chest and the shoulder motions, it is very prevalent in any form of pressing you do, and even some back exercises. And while it's hard to directly train the serratus per se, given the muscle's nature and kind of how small it is, the following exercises are good at targeting it. Push-ups, pullovers, band or cable punches, one-arm planks, even the ab wheel. And in terms of your general training, if you do your pressing and pulling movements with full range of motion, not keeping your scaps glued together at all times when not necessary, you probably won't have an issue with the serratus. There are times when you want to retract your scapula, but a lot of exercises it is not necessary or even counterproductive. You can click the video in the top right if you want a more thorough explanation on that. So moving on to tip number 3 here, don't be afraid to add weight to your ab exercises. Perhaps the most encompassing ab training fallacy is that everybody seems to do ab exercises with just body weight. Many people either don't add any weight at all, or they just kind of mindlessly pick up a 10-pound plate or an 8-pound medicine ball over and over for months and years. And while plenty of body weight ab exercises are challenging in their own right, once you get pretty strong, or if you're really lean already, you might be able to do them for so many reps or so much time that they're not intense enough. Now, you most likely won't be adding very much total weight to your ab exercises, but here are some good examples you can try. You can hold a plate or dumbbell during your Russian twists. You can use a medicine ball for lying leg raises, maybe pass it off between your hands and your feet. You can hold a dumbbell between your feet when you do leg raises, or even attach ankle weights when you do leg raises too. And of course, you can do machines at the gym where you can use a weight stack or load on plates to a machine. But generally speaking, I would prefer your ab work to be done freely in space for the reasons talked about earlier. Since machines lock you into one plane of motion and kind of keep your legs static for the most part, I don't think they're ideal. And of course, as with anything, don't just add weight because you heard me say it. If you can barely do a single leg raise with good form, if you can barely hold a 20-second plank without your hip shifting and you falling over, don't just have people put a plate on your back. Don't just add weight for the sake of doing it. Once you have a few ab exercises mastered, with good form, good range of motion, you can do them easily with only body weight, then you can begin adding weight to them. And for some more difficult exercises like toes to the bar, as you can see here, you may never have to add weight to these at all. Simply bulking up and getting bigger makes these hard enough. And now wrapping up, the 4th and final tip to get the most out of your ab training: take your sets to failure. And I've discussed before, guys, many times why you don't want to or need to take all of your exercises to failure, especially your bigger compound movements. There's this overarching thing in kind of bodybuilding bro culture where it's just everything to failure, harder, harder, harder. That sounds good on paper, right? Just failing all the reps and you look good on the camera, you're losing your mind like Arnold, right? That looks cool, and it is good to do for more isolation style exercises like abs, as we're going to talk about, but you don't need to take everything to failure. The reason, though, why ab training is applicable here is because, comparatively speaking, it is far less taxing than bigger exercises and uses far less weight. Realistically speaking, guys, most people are not going to be adding anything more than probably 5 up to 30, maybe 40 pounds to most of their ab exercises, so the full body stress here is minimal. And how much absolute volume and exercises you're going to need is going to vary based on the person. Like I said, you might be able to get visible abs without ever directly training them, and you might not care. Other people, they might get abs faster, they might want to do the training for more athletic carryover, things of that nature. So individual volume is going to vary here, but since abs are a lighter muscle to train directly, you can get away with high frequency. Some people even train abs every single day, and when you combine the isolation of the abs to failure with your bigger exercises done in more moderate ranges, you're going to really build up the muscles in this region. I personally do about 6 to 8, maybe up to 10 sets of core per week. It might be a little bit more or less for you. Regardless though, if you follow the tips outlined here, guys, once you build the muscle and get your body fat down to a level necessary for you to facilitate visible abs, you're gonna have the 6-pack or maybe even the 4-pack you've always wanted. If you're very far from that now, be patient, it is possible, but don't rush and don't be stupid. Check this channel for more information on training and nutrition. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you to the Patreon supporters as always. Tell me in the comments what you want to see next down below. Stay tuned this coming summer for when my abs come back, and I will catch you guys next time.